Let's be direct, no theatrics, no raised voices. What you're about to hear isn't a scream, it's a whisper. Look inward into that silent, often neglected corner of your mind. When the forced smile falters, when tension erupts inside you and no one even notices, what's left? The place you avoid. That's where the story begins. Real control isn't something you practice. It surfaces, often uninvited, in the moments that test your foundation. A whisper that cuts deeper than any shout ever could. Don't open your eyes just yet. Don't look outward for answers. Hidden beneath layers of performance and quiet, there's a question you've managed to sidestep for too long. Who are you really when the facade of control is stripped away? It's standing at the edge of chaos, looking directly into it without flinching. Have you convinced yourself that control means power? That calm is something you learn from self-help tips or motivational quotes? If so, you've been misinformed. One that reflects the part of you that can't be filtered or shared online, the part that shakes, that burns, that swallows unspoken words like poison. To him, it was a signal of reflection from the soul that has acknowledged its own darkness. You'll need to let go of the version of yourself driven by rage masked as logic, the version that attacks to defend, that shouts to stay in control. And if you do nothing, fate will look like constant emotional reactivity, like being ruled by your most primitive instincts. That constantly explains because it doesn't know how to simply be. This is a descent. And not everyone returns from it, because not everyone is willing to face what they've been carrying inside. You tell yourself you're above it all, that you're stable in the storm, but Jung understood no one stands apart. We are all battlegrounds, tired of pretending, tired of rationalizing, tired of losing control precisely when it matters most. Don't try to soothe yourself or breathe away the discomfort. The deeper fire, the one that destroys from the inside out, starts long before any words are raised. It begins in quiet moments of self-betrayal. When you say, it's okay, even though it isn't. When you agree to things that violate your values. That's because their calm isn't real, it's a mask. And the danger of a mask is that, in time, even the wearer forgets it's not their face. When you push down your truth again and again, until that false sense of calm becomes a silent countdown to a reaction no one sees coming, do the opposite. Let yourself fully experience the unease, the tension, the pressure in your chest. That discomfort is not a barrier, it's a doorway. Recognizing that your anger, your fear, your impulses, they're not enemies. Start by facing what you've been running from. Because what you ignore doesn't vanish, it festers. And what festers eventually explodes, often when you least expect it. They lose control because they've been holding in unresolved struggles, internal battles no one else can see. Often, battles they've stopped acknowledging themselves. They provoke your worst reactions, your strongest emotions. That's not random. They're reflecting something unresolved within you. They're signals, messengers, parts of yourself that have been pushed aside, ignored, forgotten. They're with yourself. Every time you stay quiet when you need to speak. Every time you go along with something that wounds you. Every time you smile just to avoid confrontation. You're not avoiding conflict, you're creating it inside. These internal conflicts hurt the most because they're hidden. No one sees them, but you carry them every day. But the real question they never ask is, how long have you been pretending everything was fine? And whether you're ready or not, you're about to walk through it. And right now, you may be losing a war you don't even know you're fighting. But he also warned, identify too closely with that mask, and you lose sight of who you really are. That's what happens when calm is used not as strength, but as a shield. Because even as you avoid conflict, there's a part of you that feeds on it. That part isn't dormant. It's wide awake. You've walked the fine line between clarity and collapse without even realizing it. It's in the unresolved arguments that end in cold silence, in the looks loaded with suppressed fury, in the quiet where everything is felt but nothing is said. And for many, it never surfaces at all, because calm isn't a tactic. It's a challenge, the strange truth. You've been at that edge more often than you think. Carl Jung didn't describe calm as a virtue in the usual sense. Because you're not truly at peace with yourself. Because you mistake calm for suppression. Because you've buried your shadow, not embraced it. Still, you pretend. You act detached, unaffected, logical. Why do you overreact when interrupted? Why do you sweat under criticism, even while smiling? Why do your thoughts turn hostile when you feel belittled? But what's repressed doesn't disappear. It grows stronger, more volatile, more desperate for recognition. This video isn't here to offer breathing techniques, affirmations, or tea-sipping optimism. It's a mirror, one that doesn't flatter. If you want to remain composed during conflict, prepare for a kind of death not physical, but psychological. Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." True power isn't about conquering others. It's about not being defeated by what's within. This isn't just another video about self-worth. It's not here to give you 5 minutes of comfort before you lash out again at the people you care about. If you've made it this far, it's because something within you is tired. Today, you don't escape the labyrinth. You enter it, you're here not by accident, but because something deeper within you is already waiting, calling for you to finally show up. So don't turn away. Are you prepared to meet the version of yourself that appears when silence is the only thing separating you from your breaking point? Don't rush off just yet. If you still believe the real problem is your anger, you're not seeing the full picture. Anger is just the surface. And when it finally does, people ask, "Why did you lash out? Why such an overreaction? Why say something so harsh?" Think about it. Those who pride themselves on their composure are often just one minor trigger away from collapse. Carl Jung once said, "The self is a necessary mask." This isn't about shutting down your emotions. It's about integrating them. People don't lose control in conflict because they're weak. Here's a truth that might sting. Most of your conflicts aren't with others. Then one day, you don't know why, but you're agitated. Everything irritates you. You're overwhelmed, anxious, resentful. You want peace? And here's something else few people admit. There's always that one person or one kind of person who gets under your skin more than anyone else. They provoke your worst reactions, your strongest emotions. That's not random. They're reflecting something unresolved within you. They may remind you of a voice that shamed you, a figure that silenced you, a memory that still stings. Maybe they live in a way you've never allowed yourself to. Maybe they cross boundaries you never learned to enforce. Whatever it is, they touch a nerve that hasn't healed. Not to pretend everything's okay. Not to strive for some perfect image of calm, but to step into the reality of what you feel. To acknowledge the parts of yourself that are tired of being ignored. It begins in the courage to break that silence. Sometimes, it's a person who tries to control you, who makes you feel small. Other times, it's someone who manipulates you and causes you to doubt yourself. Pay close attention. Every conflict that unsettles you is a mirror. And you only find it once you no longer feel the urge to prove anything, once you made peace with the darkest parts of yourself. Inner silence. The kind that has nothing to do with keeping quiet and everything to do with not reacting internally. True calm doesn't start with your words. It starts in your judgment. The more discomfort it brings, the more it's revealing something within you that you've been avoiding. To face someone's hostility and not take it personally. That's where real strength is forged, in the ability to pause and create space between what happens and how you choose to feel about it. That space, that brief moment of separation, is where your freedom begins. That's why your response feels so intense, not because of them, but because of what they awaken in you. And this is the invitation. We live in a culture that prizes speed, sharp comebacks, and clever retorts. But the sharpest mind isn't the one that speaks first, it's the one that waits. Do you instantly rush to defend yourself? Do you raise your voice just to make sure you're heard? Or can you stay grounded, even when no one sees your side? That's where growth is measured, not by what you achieve, but by what you no longer need to prove. The one that refuses to fall into traps set by others. Because real peace doesn't come from suppression, it comes from integration. You begin to see all the things you used to avoid: your pride, your need to always be right, the old wound that cries out every time you feel unheard. A real, conscious choice, the decision not to fuel the storm. And that choice, that clarity, is the closest thing to real power. You begin to recognize the root of your anxiety showing up in every conflict. Because the true issue is rarely the other person. It's the echo they trigger inside you. How many times have you had the last word, but lost your peace of mind? That's what happens when you enter conflict without a deep understanding of yourself. It's not a discussion of ideas, it's a clash of wounded egos. Yours and theirs. And in that kind of battle, even the so-called winner walks away defeated. From listening to what hurts. From making space for your feelings. From understanding that emotions aren't weaknesses, they're signals. They're guides leading you back to who you truly are. So stay with the discomfort. Stay with the tension. Let it teach you. Let it guide you, because healing doesn't begin in silence. Don't push that discomfort away, lean into it. Follow it. Trace it back to where it started. Let me ask you this. How many times have you won an argument and still felt hollow afterward? Because genuine calm can't be forced. It can't be negotiated. And it's not something you perform. It can only be found. Let's talk about silence. Not the surface level kind, but the deeper one. Think about how hard it is to experience provocation and not instantly assign it meaning. And yes, it's hard. We've been conditioned to react, not respond. Carl Jung once said, "He who looks outside dreams. He who looks inside awakens." And awakening hurts. But you also begin to see something more: choice. Want proof you're growing? Look at how you respond when you're misunderstood, misrepresented, or mocked. Do you instantly rush to defend yourself? Do you raise your voice just to make sure you're heard? Or can you stay grounded, even when no one sees your side? That's where growth is measured, not by what you achieve, but by what you no longer need to prove. Let's go deeper into another hidden place: your need to appear calm. Often, that calm doesn't come from wisdom. It comes from fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of seeming weak. Fear of not being enough. The problem is not knowing what to do with it. You have to stop using calmness as a way to dodge the very conflicts that need to happen. And when you learn to walk away without creating drama, you're not giving up, you're choosing to preserve your peace. Not every confrontation is harmful. Some are necessary. Some are the only way to set boundaries. That is, until they see you're the only one who doesn't need to raise their voice to command the room. You stayed not out of routine, but because something in this message resonated with a part of you most people avoid. What you're really learning is how to protect your inner peace. You're learning not to trade your soul for the fleeting rush of reactivity. You're building the quiet strength of awareness, the invisible foundation that holds everything together. We're no longer just talking about staying calm. We're talking about reshaping your entire way of being. That you no longer react from wounds, but respond from clarity. That you move not from fear, but from intention. People may not understand why, but they feel it. Because your calm isn't passivity. It's the echo of someone who's been through fire and returned wiser, more rooted, unshakable. Don't do it to appear composed. Do it for you. Because you no longer need to explode to feel alive. You no longer need to be right to feel secure. You no longer need to win to feel worthy. This isn't about applause. It's not about proving you're better than others. This is about self-regulation, real self-control. Dangerous not in aggression, but in stability. A threat to manipulation, to chaos, to noise. Because now you are silence. You are presence. You are peace that unsettles the ungrounded. And boundaries, whether others like them or not, are a powerful act of self-respect. As Bruce Lee once said, "Be water, my friend." That wasn't a slogan. It was a truth. Those who can't adapt, break. It's as if life itself recognizes the difference. The battles start to pass you by, not because you're afraid, but because you're no longer feeding chaos. Fire can't burn what doesn't spark. But you didn't come here to break. You came to awaken. This is the heart of it all. Emotional regulation isn't about suppressing your feelings or unloading them without thought. It's about understanding them. And that requires honesty with yourself. Yes, but now you're not available to be pulled into every argument. Not because you feel superior, but because you understand yourself more fully. You face your own shadows and return with something authentic, something that can't be imitated or bought. Presence. So you perform. You act like serenity itself, flawless on the outside, but screaming on the inside. But what if you stop performing? What if for once you stop trying to prove anything? Ask yourself, is my calm a way of avoiding myself? Or is it a way of affirming myself? Because there's a calm rooted in fear and another rooted in mastery. Only you can decide which one you're practicing. What if you simply allowed yourself to feel what you're feeling without judgment? Not to control it, but to understand it. To name it. Because the problem isn't feeling anger. You have to stop pretending you're okay when you're not. Sometimes it's about knowing when to walk away. Because some battles were never meant to be fought. They're meant to be left behind, not out of weakness, but because you've outgrown them. So next time someone provokes you, don't treat staying calm as a performance. And no, we're not done yet. There's one more truth, one that's rarely said. Staying composed during conflict isn't always about having the right words. Because you finally realize not every conflict deserves your attention. Some confrontations exist for a single purpose, to drain your presence. And here's the most striking part: some people will mistake your composure for weakness. And real self-control isn't about being rigid. It's about intentional adaptability. It's being like water, steady yet fluid, rooted yet flexible. And if you're still here, that's no coincidence, because calm is only the surface. Here's where the shift happens. When you change how you respond to conflict, conflict begins to change its form. Well, challenges still arise. And that changes everything. Calm isn't the finish line. It's evidence. Evidence that you've awakened. And that makes you powerful. Powerful not in volume, but in stillness. When someone who has integrated their shadow sits across from others without flinching, it creates a shift. So here's how we'll end if this even needs an ending. Don't stay calm for others. Don't do it to keep things pleasant. Don't do it to appear composed. Do it for you. Because you no longer need to explode to feel alive. You no longer need to be right to feel secure. You no longer need to win to feel worthy. This channel isn't for feel-good content. It's for people ready to let go of the programmed, diluted version of themselves and step into transformation. And hit the notification bell, because what's coming next you'll want to be ready for. And if someone doesn't understand that, let them go. Not everyone is ready for the kind of quiet that speaks truth and disrupts dysfunction. If this message connected with you, don't just click away like it meant nothing. Subscribe if you're ready to keep exploring truths that may challenge you, but will also free you. And if you want to leave your mark, comment below, because now you've seen it. And once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. Silence is my armor. Awareness is my sword. That's how I'll know you stayed with this until the end. That you're not just another voice in the noise. Now, yes, I'm signing off, but not with a predictable goodbye. Instead, a reminder. From this point on, watch what you think just before you react. The real confrontation doesn't happen out there. It happens within. And once that begins, the calm you cultivate is permanent. I'll see you where few dare to look in the shadow, at the edge, in the depth. Until next time.